Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Karen and I am the facilitator for today. We would love to know where you're joining us from, so let us know in the chat down below. We're so happy that you're here. We'd like to give a special thank you to our caregivers and administrators in our Cedar Rapids Views Senior Living community for making this happen. The Views of Cedar Rapids offers both memory care and assisted living. As we're heading through the webinar, if you have any questions, feel free to enter them down in the chat below. If we get disconnected, our email is info@viewsseniorliving.com. Feel free to pop us a line by email. And I'd like to introduce you to our presenters before we begin, starting with our co-host. Danielle has been at the Views since 2012. She is currently the Assistant Director at the Views of Cedar Rapids. She is dedicated to helping the aging population and especially those living with dementia and their caregivers, and currently holds her Dementia Practitioner Certificate. Johnathon was previously in PR and fundraising in the Cedar Rapids area. He began his journey in senior living at the Views of Cedar Rapids. He enjoys interacting with residents and the fact that he never has a dull moment at work. We're excited to have him on our team, and so he'll be with us today. So I'm gonna skip my screen, stop sharing here, and Danielle's going to pull up the presentation.
All right, so our webinar today is why choose assisted living. So there's 4 key factors. Socialization helps the residents stay engaged physically and emotionally. Our care here, we provide 24-hour care. Activities, we have a full monthly activity calendar that we give to all the residents and their families to keep them engaged. In dining, we offer 3 made from scratch meals daily. And kind of a fun fact is, since we have our raised garden beds here, we're able to use our vegetables from our garden in a lot of our meals. And I'll let Johnathon explain more while I flip through some pictures of our assisted living residents.
Sure, I'll take it from here. So the socialization part, it's important for our seniors because many of our seniors that may be coming from home or an apartment or wherever they've lived for many of years, they tend to be by themselves. They end up being reliable on people for transportation or meals or different things related to their healthcare treatment. So it's important that they're out and socializing with their own peers. So the socialization piece is just important because it helps them stay engaged emotionally and physically. So this helps kind of deter those negative effects like anxiety and depression, and it keeps them with an overall happier well-being.
So there are some misconceptions that a lot of people think of when they think of assisted living. They think of loss of freedom. Assisted living does not take away anyone's personal freedom. It only increases someone's well-being while still be able to enjoy the things that they love. Costs, also look into a budget of assisted living versus normal home finances. I think you'll be really, really, really surprised. They also may think that everyone is sick. So you do not have to be sick in order to live in an assisted living community. Like Johnathon had mentioned, a lot of people look into assisted living because of socialization. They're lonely at home. They're starting to get depressed. And a lot of other people may say, I don't need assisted living, I'm healthy. So it's not always about, you're being sick. It's a lot more than that. So I'll kind of let Johnathon elaborate on that a little bit more.
Yeah, so many of our seniors kind of toy with the idea to moving to assisted living facility. And the kind of number one rebuttal is, first of all, that you may get is, well, you promised me you'd never move me to a nursing home. A lot of residents or, potential residents, I found that they really don't even understand the difference between the assisted living and the nursing home. So they're just looking at it from a sense of, everyone's sick there because I'm thinking, it's a nursing home and then people have, specific healthcare needs in the nursing home. So that's the only view or picture they have of assisted living. They don't understand that we're just, providing you with socialization, a sense of community feel and your own independence. So you get to enjoy the things that you do, minus those normally daily household tasks that, you're responsible for. You can kind of be more engaged on the things that you do love instead of taking care of the yard or the monthly bills that are the house expenses or going grocery shopping or whatnot, because your meals are provided for you. And you're able to kind of go out in the community, make new friends. As far as cost, people don't really kind of put two and two together. If you look at your overall cost, this is what I kind of challenge, families to do, is kind of map out expenses, maybe like a comparison sheet of what they spend every month, and kind of what that tallies to and how much of that is related to monthly household expenses, chores and whatnot, things that they, mainly need help with to begin with, that they may not be able to do, that they, previously were able to do when they were younger. So by moving into an assisted living facility, we do those, services for them. So that cuts out a lot of expenses to begin with. And then most likely they own their own home. So they toy with the idea of, maybe leaving it to a family member or selling it. So they benefit off that. So they don't have those household expenses. So realistically, a lot of times they're able to afford it. And that's kind of what we kind of sit down and kind of talk about. But I challenge people when they talk about assisted living to kind of look at your overall finances from a standpoint of how much do I actually, bring in a month versus, shove out essentially. And then everyone's sick idea. I do have, people that I've talked to, and the main thing they want to look at is, I'm independent, I just want independent living. I don't want to feel like I'm, around sick people. And I try to present it with the idea that you essentially have your independence, your freedom. You get to kind of come and go as you want and interact with your peers, people of the same age. Many of our residents are different, care levels. So you may see people, that need a little more help than others, but essentially they're able to interact with you just the same as you interact with them. But the care is there if you need it. So that's kind of what I challenge it to. And, a lot of times it's just people living at, your loved ones or seniors. They may have just lived in that particular household or condo, whatever the case be, for a long period of time. And it's hard to kind of, change, and they need the cares, and, the family needs that relief, because a lot of times they're left with that responsibility, making sure their loved one is, safe. They're getting to those, appointments and, being fed or whatnot, and also providing for their own family. So that's a challenge, and luckily we do have 24/7 care. So that kind of helps ease, the tension off that family member, knowing that they don't have to go run to mom if something happens. Because she's in an assisted living community, we have nursing staff that make sure they're okay. We let you know what's going on. So I think those are kind of just important key points of choosing assisted living, specifically.
So any questions, again, feel free to reach out to info@viewseniorliving.com, or you can also call one of our locations, so Cedar Rapids, Marion, or Burlington. Reach out to any of us and we will help guide you through the process. Thank you for attending today.
Thank you guys for joining.
I have one discussion question that we could talk about. One thing I really love about the Views is that we have assisted living, but ultimately, like you were saying, it's independent living. What does it look like when someone is independent living, but then does need that assisted living services? Is there any examples, and maybe this is a question for Danielle too, of when that has been beneficial, that they did have access to that assisted living care?
So I'll just go first, and then I'll let Danielle kind of expound on it. So a lot of people look for, they call it a continuation of care. So they're looking to be, independent as long as they can, and then transition over to assisted living. And then, if they need skilled or nursing home or memory care in the future, they can do that. So when they start out in independent, they're independent essentially. But once they do start needing care, that's the time that we actually kind of visit with them and maybe the family, and kind of do some kind of care conference to kind of figure out the best solution, and what type of care they need. And at that point, then they have that particular care plan to kind of meet their needs, either as their health, improves or declines or whatnot. So they get to transition over, they're still in the same community and they still have the same friends, but now they're able to get the care while they're there essentially.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And it makes it for a smoother transition to, if needing memory care down the road. It's right next door to us. So it's an easy, smooth transition that benefits a lot of people here. So.
Well, I definitely like that you involve the family and that a care plan can be put together. And I really feel like if anyone is watching this and they have any questions related to a care plan or what to do next, we have some really experienced staff. So again, reach out at any of the numbers on the side. You can also go to our Facebook page at Views Senior Living and check us out there. But thanks you guys for hopping on and doing this. And we hope everyone has a great day today.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.